Guess it helps to turn my sound on. I'm like, gee, it's really quiet.
That explains why you didn't respond when I was talking to you.
Yeah, correct. Because sorry. I'm not that good at reading lips. Two, three. Well, we have a quorum. We can
We've
get
got
going.
4.
Okay. I know Victoria, since we have a quorum, Victoria will not be joining us. Okay. Let me get all my stuff together. So I'll call the Town of October 8th, 2020 Town of Northwood Planning Board meeting to order at 7:01 with the following statement. Due to circumstances associated with the coronavirus pandemic and pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, which declared New Hampshire to be in a state of emergency due to novel coronavirus COVID-19, an emergency exists as defined by RSA 91-A:2, paragraph 3 for the October 8th, 2020 Town of Northwood Planning Board meeting. Board members who are unable to attend in person may participate via electronic communication and will be deemed to be present at the meeting for purposes of quorum and voting. For attendance, board members, please state your name
Betty,
in whatever order you would like to try.
Lee Baldwin, Betty Smith,
Hal Kreider.
Bob Strobel. Voting designation is all 4 members present. We also have members of town staff and members of the public with us. Okay. Clear that. We have continued cases 20-3 Co-Brown Northwood Academy. And I believe at the end of September, we heard this or brought this up as continued, or sorry, brought this up and continued it to tonight. Have we received any comments at Town Hall or wherever on this case?
I'm not aware of any for this one.
Okay. And I'll assume you coordinated with Susan and I'm getting a head shake from Susan. Okay, just double checking. Okay, this was a boundary line adjustment. I think we had discussed it with the applicant. Any further questions, concerns, nothing brought up by the public in writing by the deadline? Anything
No.
from town
So
staff?
procedurally, I would reopen the public hearing for comment tonight, just in case anybody who's logged on is here to speak to this case tonight. But otherwise, you'll recall this is a fairly small and straightforward property swap. I think approximately 51 square feet are being exchanged in equal amounts at different places of these lots to accommodate an encroachment by the building. I sent you all a staff report with some recommended conditions of approval that I'm happy to read when the time comes. This is a case where the existing driveway has been around for, who knows how long. I'm fully confident that this case will not result in any change to the usage of that driveway. But I think it would be worth the applicant at least notifying somebody from District 6 and getting a confirmation from them that yes, nothing is required. Similarly, I have a contact at NHDES that I could refer the applicant to if need be to get an email back as relates to state subdivision approval. The smaller of these two lots is exactly 2 acres, which is our minimum lot size, and it is also below the 5 acres that is typically required for state subdivision approval, or rather state subdivision is required for anything below 5 acres. Based on my understanding, it's not so much the area of the property, but also the quality of the land that is being exchanged or added or removed from a property that would impact that prior state subdivision approval. Again, the change is so small, just 50 square feet, and it's being replaced by a different 50 square feet. I can't imagine they would require a new state subdivision approval, but I would prefer that somebody just send the email and get the email back.
Okay. And for the record, alternate Dwayne Curry has joined us at 7:05, and he is added to the voting designation. Actually, that's something I should do. Dwayne, can you introduce yourself or just say hi?
Hey, how you doing? The reason the name on my it's my wife's laptop I'm using, and Susan usually changes the name. So Susan, if you'll change my name, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
We recognized you anyway.
You look like a
Okay,
lawyer.
thank you.
Okay. Okay. From the board, well, I already did that, sorry. So at this time, I will open public comment on case 20-3 Cobarrow Northwood Academy. If you are attending the meeting in any format and you would like to speak on this case, please either turn on your camera and raise your hand or indicate somehow. Okay. Seeing none, I will close public comment. If need be, it can be reopened for this case until the case is closed. Questions, anything from the board on 20-3? Do we have, Hal, go ahead. Your hand is off your camera.
Oh,
That's
sorry.
better. It's okay.
Wow, so you can see that off the camera, Bob. I'm impressed.
No, I saw your thumb move.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I understand what James is saying regarding the state subdivision. We don't, well, I shouldn't say we. Are you confirming that it's reasonable to expect that the state would not require a subdivision approval on this?
My expectation is that the state would not require subdivision approval. Yeah, my understanding is where that would kick in would be if somebody was transferring half an acre of good upland soil to another property, and in exchange they were getting back half an acre of wetland.
Yeah.
Under those circumstances, they might say, okay, your nutrient loading isn't going to be absorbed in the same way. We need to take a look at this new parcel configuration.
Yeah.
But 50 square feet is so small in the grand scheme of this application. You know, that's probably what, like 0.5% of a 2-acre parcel. And it's being replaced by an equal amount, neither appears to be wetland or constrained in any way. My full expectation is that they would look at that and say that's de minimis. We're not going to need to look at, you know, test pits or anything like that. That's not going to need anything.
So what happens if we decide to just move ahead without putting that as a contingency?
If you don't want to put it as a condition, honestly, I don't think it changes anything. Except that we don't have to have that piece of paper in the file before Bob can sign. And like I said, with both the driveway and with this one in this case, I'm not super worried about either. I think it's a matter of how much we want to defer to technically letting those agencies be the ones to make the decisions, but
Well, let me ask the question a different way. Who gets in trouble if it's supposed to be done and we don't ask them to have it done? Do we or the applicant get in trouble?
the applicant would get in trouble.
Okay.
I don't think we would. And I think that we have brought it up enough times. I believe Mr. Sargent was here to speak to this application at the last meeting.
Right.
And he's an experienced surveyor. He didn't think either of these would be required either. And we mentioned it in front of him, so he is aware that we have at least raised the question. I think from there, it's the applicant's responsibility to do their diligence. And if the board feels comfortable moving ahead with this, and just to leave it up to the applicant that they need to follow it up, for something this small, I'm not overly worried.
Yeah.
Let me flip that on its head. If we do require as a condition the contact or a piece of paper from the state and it does not come, does for an extraordinary period of time, that also means then
If
that
it's a condition precedent of approval that we need a sheet of
Right.
paper or an email, we have to have the sheet of paper or email
Right.
before we can move.
Right.
But
Which-
like I said, I think we put it on the applicant's radar. We suggested that, we're skeptical, but to be safe, it may be worth a check-in. So if the board feels comfortable moving forward without that condition, then when we get to a motion, I'll read my list without that item.
Anyone have a preference or an opinion? I know you have opinions.
I don't think it should be a condition.
Well, it
Anyone
sounds
else?
pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I mean, and to make them jump through hoops, if it turns out to be a problem later, they have to go get it fixed, but
Yeah.
the chances of them having a problem are practically nil, and it falls on them anyway, so I see no need to do this.
I have it's largely the same belief. So Dwayne, you're the only one who hasn't spoken.
I agree. I agree. It falls on them and not us. I agree.
Did I cover everybody? I think I
Not
heard
me,
an
but-
assent from Lee.
Yeah.
Okay. So consensus from the board is that it's, we can exclude that as from the condition. Anything else? Questions? So we have a list of conditions. Why don't we read the list of conditions as we
So
currently?
removing that item, what I would have left would be prior to the signing of plans, number 1, review and approval of the driveway easement language by town legal counsel. That's something that we typically do just to make sure the easements are all straightforward, would be legally enforceable once they're recorded, etc. I'm dropping number 2. So new number 2, provide certification of monument installation as required by section 3.06 of the subdivision regulations. Number 3, deliver 3 signed and stamped copies of the plan and 1 signed and stamped Mylar to the town for signature. And then prior to the issuance of a building permit, there isn't going to be one, so I'm going to change that to just be a condition subsequent. Number 4, record the plat with the Rockingham County Registry of Deeds within 1 year of this decision.
Okay. I would entertain a motion.
Motion
but-
to-
Oh, sorry. Well,
Did you reopen the public? Yes, you did, and nobody said
yes.
anything.
Nobody said
Okay.
anything. We had nothing in queue from town as far as documentation goes. So I think we're okay.
Ready now?
Yes.
Motion to approve the application with conditions as stated by Mr. Burdine.
Second.
Second,
Go ahead, Dwayne.
Okay. So motion by Ms. Betty Smith, second by Mr. Kreider. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Well, Susan can do a roll call vote, please.
Dwayne,
yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Hal,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes,
and Bob.
Yes. Okay. That is one. Motion carries. And the boundary line adjustment. Susan, or sorry, not, well, Susan or Linda. I realize there's plans in there. I can, whenever this one is ready, just let me know. That's easy enough to stop in and sign it. Okay. Next case is 20-4, the Carl Woolman Revocable Trust of 1998. Have we had any communications with town staff on this one?
We received a letter from the Southeast Land Trust, who is the easement holder on this property. And I forwarded that to all of you earlier this week. It looks like there might also be a SELT representative here tonight when it comes time for opening comments,
Okay.
just based on the naming convention.
Let me pull that email up. Or actually, would the representative from SELT prefer to read it him or herself?
I actually don't have it in front of me, but I'm Brian Hart, the executive director, and it simply says that the proposed lot line adjustment is consistent with the easement, and there's no
Okay.
issues from our perspective.
Okay. Does that cover us, James? Or do we need to read the thing?
No, that's fine.
Okay, just double checking. Thank you. Okay, that being said, we've received that letter for case 20-4. I will open public comment. If you are present in the meeting in some format and wish to speak on this application, please raise your hand after you turn on your video camera, or say so, somehow get my attention.
Hello, this is Eric Mitchell. I'm the
Yes.
surveyor for the applicant. I'd be glad to answer any questions if you happen to have them.
Okay, thank you.
And just a point of information, Mr. Chair, there were 6 waiver requests on this application. They were all related to the scale of the plan, since a rather significant amount of property is being transferred between the two. We do have some accommodations for large parcels, but none of them contemplate, the fact that 135 acres are going to be changing hands between parcels. So my recollection is that we had not acted on those waivers yet. As of the last meeting, I think we just accepted as complete and then continued.
Correct.
So you will need to act on those before approving. I have no objection to approving any of the waivers.
Okay.
They're all
Thank you.
straightforward.
Okay. Not seeing any indications from anyone in the meeting aside from representatives of the applicants who wishes to speak at this time. I will close public comment on case 20-4, subject to reopening if need be. Would the applicant like to say anything at this point in time? Not necessary, but I figure I'll give you the opportunity. Okay. Any questions from the board? Okay. We need to address the waivers and James, would you mind, or Susan, would you mind reading the list of waivers? I don't have it right in front of me.
Yeah, I can go ahead and do that. So my recommendation is that approval of all waivers be conditioned on adding a note to the plan stating that the waiver was requested, approved, and including the date of approval. So the 6 are first to section 4.08 to depict the entire lot at a scale less detailed than 1 inch equals 100 feet. While other sections of the plan requirements make exceptions for cases involving large lots, those exceptions don't contemplate cases where the acreage of this size will be transferred. The second waiver request, section 410, paragraph A, to allow a boundary survey of only the adjusted lot 1 of 6.55 acres, and then relying on the prior existing surveys and plans for the remainder of the lot. The third waiver, section 410A3, not to depict driveway locations. The fourth one, section 410A, paragraph 4, to not show locations of buildings, septic systems, and wells within 100 feet of the subject properties, again, due to the scale and the number of structures and septic systems that would be required to be depicted. Section 410B5, to only depict stone walls in the immediate vicinity of the property boundaries and wetlands, and to only depict wetlands based on NRCS data as shown on sheet 2 of 2. So that's stone walls close to the property border where they matter, and the wetlands being based on available GIS data instead of a full delineation. And then section 410D, not to depict setback lines on the properties.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to, on those waivers, and I think we can do them as a block. If somebody wanted to make that, or they can do however the board would like to act on them.
So since all the waivers relate to making things simpler, but not taking away any information that we really need to make a decision, I'll make a motion to grant all the waivers.
Okay.
Second.
So motion by Mr. Kreider, second by Ms. Betty Smith to grant the waivers as read by Mr. Burdine. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Susan, can do a roll call vote, please.
Betty,
Yes.
Hal,
Yes,
Lee,
Yes.
Wade,
Yes,
and Bob.
Yes. Okay. Waivers have been granted. And anything else that we want to bring up? Chair is not allowed to make motions, but he can hint at it.
Would you like me to read the recommended conditions of approval
Sure.
if you're waiting on a motion? So this is a smaller list. So I recommend prior to the signing of plans, number 1, provide certification of monument installation as required by section 3.06 of the subdivision regulations. Number 2, deliver 3 signed and stamped copies of the plan and 1 signed and stamped Mylar to the town for signature. And then again, I'm changing prior to the issuance of the building permit to just a condition subsequent. In this case, number 3, record the plat with the Rockingham County Registry of Deeds within 1 year of this decision.
Okay.
Motion to approve with conditions as stated by Mr. Burdine.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Ms. Betty Smith, second by Ms. Lee Baldwin. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, Susan can do a roll call vote, please.
Hal,
Yes,
Lee,
Yes.
Wade,
Yes,
Betty,
Yes.
and Bob.
Yes. Okay, motion passes and the boundary line adjustment, it is approved.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Okay. Thank you.
thank you.
Okay. We are on to new cases for this month. We have 3. And I'll state this again, but for members of the public and applicants who are watching, because we are meeting virtually and by way of the pandemic emergency order that I read at the opening of the meeting, we are moving new applications to a format of a 2-meeting minimum. We will,
And just to be clear, Bob, all of these cases are noticed for a public hearing in 2 weeks. So you're not going to be accepting them as complete tonight.
that's right, yes. Okay,
This is
thank you
where
for
we would
cutting
normally
me off.
be handing out staff reports
Right.
and any process questions.
Correct. That part hasn't changed for the first meeting of the month. Gee. This is why what happens when you get set in your ways and then all of a sudden things change. Okay, yes. Anyway, it's bare, as James pointed out, it is worth repeating though so the members of the public and applicant are aware. We are at a 2-meeting format. During the formal opening of the hearing, we will discuss completeness, opening statement, kinds of things, question from the board, and then we will continue for a meeting, typically the first meeting of the month, to give the public a chance to send in comments by, the Tuesday before the meeting. And anything that the board requests during the first meeting, the applicant would get in, the 10 days before, I think.
Yep.
Right. Okay. So 20-5 is 178 Upper Bow Street. Another boundary line adjustment.
So first I need to apologize to the board members. I'm not finished with my staff reports. Today is the earliest possible date after the application deadline that we would ever have a meeting. And that combined with some of my other ongoing work has made that difficult. So I will get them to you at the beginning of next week. In looking through these, I haven't seen anything that seems particularly odd or difficult about any of these applications. But we can go through them one by one. This boundary line adjustment is an application that you had a preliminary consultation with
That's what
one of the applicants last month. So this is the case where a current existing parcel has property on both sides of a street. And they are proposing to take all of the property on one side of the street and shift the boundary line to make it all part of the lot that it had previously been a part of before the current configuration was created. So the facts are a little odd in terms of the existing situation, but the process is fairly straightforward and I don't have any immediate issues that come to mind.
Okay. This might be a question for Linda. I think the only thing I noticed was that the address is given as Upper Bow Street. That's been a while.
It's been a long time.
Does that make any difference as far as notice?
No.
Okay. I mean, it's the only Bow Street we have, whether it's upper and lower.
Right.
So, I think
I don't think-
9.1 would have an issue with that sooner than anybody who was looking at an application, but. Okay,
I have a
Um,
quick question.
sure.
Was this supposed to be in the recent packet that we got?
It was in my recent packet.
Okay, I got 2 copies of 20-7 and no 20-5.
Oh,
I'll send it to you.
Okay,
thank you.
I'm sorry.
I got them all. Yeah.
I was just,
You're special, Hal.
I was
So that
just making
means
it
any
hard on
other
Betty.
board member that got 2 copies of this one and is missing 20-7, also let us know.
Well, I appreciate it, Susan. Thank you.
Okay.
Al, we'll talk later.
Yep.
I'm just, hey,
Anything else? Any questions from the board? Anything that the board would like to see as far as information goes on this one? Okay.
The drawing looks pretty complete.
Okay. We'll move on to 20-6. Sorry, go ahead.
Excuse me, Bob.
Yeah.
Maybe I misunderstood the process. Do we not
Oh.
have to accept this as complete?
No,
Not
That's it.
tonight.
not tonight. Next, in 2 weeks.
Oh,
This is the work session for these applications and.
This is, we normally put the staff report in your hand, answer any immediate process questions and go on our way so we can all do some reading.
okay.
Since
Nobody
the
remembers.
application deadline was a week ago, there is no way we could have met legal notice in time to actually open a public hearing tonight.
Okay, I guess, even though I sat through this now multiple times, I guess I thought we did the approvals, acceptance the 1 week, and then,
We do, but you're a month
You're
ahead.
correct, but we are not yet at week 1.
oh,
Yes.
okay, that explains it. Okay, thank you.
Okay. 20-6, and I just need to step away from the camera for 30 seconds or less. But I'm within sound.
Right, so this one is a site plan application essentially for a change in use. I believe this was the property that you saw last year as the Highland LLC application. I don't have a copy of the abutters list, but I believe, Dwayne, you would be an abutter to this through your condo
Yes.
association.
Yes.
So my understanding is that prior approval is technically still out there and sitting, but has not been recorded or completed. And we did previously get confirmation from one of the applicants that they did not intend to move forward with it. I think that if we could, as part of this, just get that formally in writing and say, you know, we would like, as part of this approval, the board to revoke the prior subdivision application, just to make sure that, you know, that's completely closed out and then we can move on. I think that would probably be the best for closing that file out. Otherwise, it's a fairly straightforward, minimal impact. They're proposing changes to the interior, but not to the outside of the site.
Right.
For my edification, can you tell me a few more detail? Obviously, some of the residents of the condos that I'm the president of the condo association, we're noticing a lot of activity that's going on over there right now. Can you tell me a little bit more about what they're doing?
The proposal is for, so that commercial building is currently 3 separate spaces. The proposal is to turn it into essentially 2 spaces, one of which would be a real estate office and the other 2 are a cafe. As far as, any site work or, interior renovations or anything like that, I'm not aware of what conversations may have happened with the building department or anything like that. For like general landscaping kinds of things, you typically don't need
Well,
a
we're
permit for that unless it's stormwater size.
James,
we're noticing there is heavy equipment over there. Are they doing a redo of the
James.
septic
This is
system?
really not the
Yeah,
appropriate time
so-
to discuss
Oh.
this, James.
Wayne, what I would suggest, since you are in a butter, is that you make a list of your questions and you wait to bring them up until the hearing has been opened.
Okay.
And that you recuse yourself from this and you bring up all of your questions as in a butter. Since you would have that right, as a representative of the condo association.
Okay, fair enough.
may I add, just as a piece of information, that the property owners have been in contact. I had a meeting with them and the building inspector together, so they are working with our building inspector.
Okay,
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
okay. Okay. So the applicant has been contacted about, or has contacted the town about the I guess, the abandonment's not the word, the revoking. or the-
We were in
prior-
touch briefly. Mr. Frankowitz had been the applicant's representative for the prior subdivision.
Right,
And he let us know when the property changed hands. In this case, the entire parent property was sold to one buyer. And we were able to gradually work our way through to being in touch with the applicant. But I think it was sort of a string of emails and it was a little informal. So I'd prefer if we could just get a simple letter that says, I, the applicant, would like to revoke the prior subdivision approval.
okay,
So that we could get that in the file for that case
okay,
and close that out. I think that would make sure that all of our T's are crossed.
okay, thank you.
It's my understanding they intend to do that. I spoke to them and they are, that was their intention.
Okay, that just trying to make sure that we have that on the way, preferably before that we hear the case.
If not, and if that's set on the record, that's the sort of thing that should be interpreted as an enforceable commitment if they put that into the public record on this. And it's also something that, for closure's sake, if we didn't have it by the time the board was ready to act, I would add it as a condition of approval.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Anything else that anybody has any questions, information they'd like to see, realizing that you just got it tonight, but. Okay. Okay, hearing none, we will move on then. 20-7, Hugh Davis and Nancy Phantom. This is the Northwood Veterinary Hospital or service or whatever the formal name is. And they are looking to expand the footprint of the building.
So this is an expansion that is larger than our de minimis threshold. So it does need site plan approval, but it is not such a significant expansion that I have any serious concerns. In my initial look through, there doesn't seem to be anything out of the ordinary. So I'll be taking another pass through the materials and putting together a report for you, but I don't have any immediate concerns.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is John Tuttle. I am the principal architect of TW Designs, and I'm here representing the Northwood Veterinary Clinic. Is there anything I can help to answer tonight, or is this just a cursory meeting to review the case?
Pretty much introduction of what you want to do tonight, or your application to the board.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us and making yourself available.
So yeah, as I stated with the other application a minute ago, since our application deadline was 7 days ago, there's no way we could have legally noticed a public hearing for tonight. So it is noticed, and we will be opening the public hearing on the 22nd. As the chair stated, for Zoom items, just to make sure that members of the public have the ability to participate, in absence of being able to attend in person. We have been doing 2 meeting schedules, so we would open on the 22nd, allow for written testimony to be submitted in the intervening weeks, and then schedule you for a second meeting to finish the public hearing and act. I don't see anything unusual, so I would suggest a quick turnaround and probably the November 12th meeting. But I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves.
Right. Okay. I had a chance to look at it, and I didn't see anything that looked out of, no information that I saw that was missing. So thank you for that. Anyone else from the board have any questions or things they want to see, since we have the applicants and representatives here?
No, looks pretty straightforward.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we might ask them to add a couple comments to the drawings, but we'll get into that.
Yep.
Just to clarify, not the formal drawings, the handwritten drawing that just makes some things a little bit clearer.
Yep.
I think otherwise it's pretty straightforward, as Betsy.
Okay. Good.
Or Betty said. Excuse me.
Okay. Sounds good. We'll see you on the 22nd then,
Thank you.
or whatever the date. 22nd? Yeah, I think it's
22nd.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, wow. We are up to internal business.
So just a quick update on zoning amendments. I don't have a draft for you yet, but I was able to meet with the Conservation Commission last week. And I think for the most part, they concurred with a lot of the conclusions that you made about how to address some of those contradictions in the first pass through the ordinance. One thing, or I guess 2 things that came up at that meeting that we hadn't really talked about previously. One was related to the concept of that stricter buffer around prime wetlands and in the overlap with the conservation overlay. That reads as basically a don't cut, don't disturb buffer. And the Conservation Commission talked a little bit about how that seems like a common sense great thing, but it isn't necessarily. And the example that they gave was if you needed to go into that buffer for forestry management or to cull invasive species, the language in that section would seem to preclude that. And sometimes management of those areas is necessary for making them healthier or for protecting the habitat that you're trying to protect, et cetera. So I'm going to see if there's a way that I can try to accommodate that suggestion as I draft that. The other thing that came up was, again, trying to dig into that exception for crossing a wetland to get to a single family home or a duplex. And we had previously discussed that, the ZBA was concerned that if we took away that exception, they would have 1 million cases on their hands. I think in discussing it further, Linda brought up that I think the sort of triggering concern that led to that exception was that a lot of detention, swales and ditches along the side of the road were showing up on wetlands inventories. I think she used the phrase ditch variance at one point. So if the concern is you have 3 feet of what is showing as wetland, but it's just the ditch on the side of the road that the water flows down, there being a difference between crossing that and crossing 20 feet of actual wetland further into the property to build your house out back because it's prettier or something. So I'm going to think about whether there might be a way to separate those things, and see if I can give you an option for, we don't want you to have to get a variance, a ditch variance, but if you're proposing serious impacts to the wetlands, we would want to see it, whether it's to a single family home or anything else. That might be a de minimis amount sort of thing if I tried to approach it, but if I did that, it wouldn't be geographically restricted. It might be explaining, hey, if this is alongside of a road, you get a de minimis amount. I'm not really sure yet. So I'll think about that a little bit more and see if I can incorporate that as well. Otherwise, I just need the time to sit down and write.
Okay. Thank you for that update. Sounds good. What else do we have for internal business? I guess from town staff.
I think John said the budget was due to go before the selectmen next Tuesday. So he gave Linda and I a heads up, but he said that since we had just been before them to talk about our budgeting, he didn't see a reason for us to be at that meeting. So yeah, I would be happy to follow up on any questions afterwards, but as of right now, I'm not planning to attend.
Okay. Sounds good. Any update from our select board rep on when we can start making plans to get back in the meeting room?
We did vote to increase the number allowed in the meeting room to 22.
Yep.
I don't know if I reported that the last time, but
you had mentioned that the analysis had been done. I don't think you voted yet, but thank you for the
so
official.
Yeah, we did vote to do that, and the select board did meet in the Great Hall for the last select board meeting, and that included having a presentation by Donna Bunker for the library, along with some of the trustees were in attendance also. And we also had a couple people observing, I shouldn't say primarily, they were both from the budget committee, because we're asking them to participate or at least watch the meetings if they can. And I think the meeting was okay for the folks that were there, but we got a lot of feedback indicating that folks at home trying to listen on YouTube and stuff had difficulties hearing some things. So we're going to be working on how to fix that. But I think the bottom line for the planning board is if we're meeting in person primarily, I think it works okay. And given that most of the applicants are also probably going to somehow participate directly, it might be okay. But it's definitely not optimum at this point yet. We need to either try a few other things or buy, we're going to be buying a bunch of cables and a central speaker, central microphone system and stuff. So we'll be trying those. But if the planning board would like to consider meeting there, I suggest that you consult with John and Bob in the room itself and work through how you're going to lay it out. That's what John did for us. He rearranged the chairs and said, this is how I think you should be sitting. And, the select board sits here, the presenter's up here, and so on. And they worked through how to make that happen. You might not be comfortable, Bob, or the planning board might not be comfortable with that, that layout, so to speak. So I'd encourage you to talk to them about it, but we definitely voted on the 22.
Okay.
So you can start looking at how to make it work for your committee or board at this point. And John is certainly willing to help. And I'm pretty certain Bob Young will help also.
Yes.
So
That sounds good. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that update.
Yeah, take a look and see what you think for the planning board.
Okay. I'll get in touch with John and Bob and see if we can.
You got to be there. You got to be there to.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Can't
Exactly.
do
Does John have regular hours or as pretty much as needed?
No,
Does he come in on Tuesdays?
John is usually there. Well, except
I can be. I'll be in touch with him. I don't expect you to remember it.
Yeah, but except for the holiday, he's usually there probably at least till 2 or 3 o'clock.
Okay.
We recognize he's limited in
Yes,
terms of
certainly.
the number of hours we've given him.
Certainly. That's what I'm trying to figure out is when I can get there and when he's there.
Figure he's there 6 hours a day, most days.
Okay. Okay. Anything else we need to bring up tonight?
I don't know.
I just want to call your attention that we have not been here less than an hour.
Oh, well, geez.
Congratulations.
So one last item then, if somebody wants to make a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, motion by Ms. Baldwin, second by Mr. Kreider.
That was Betty.
That was Betty, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I-
Well, Betty's mouth was moving, so.
I have a difficult time hearing both female soft voices
Yeah.
through Zoom. So, okay, so my apologies. Motion by Ms. Betty Smith, second by Mr. Kreider to adjourn discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Bye. Bye.
They know we have to do a roll call vote, so, okay. We are adjourned at 7:53. Thank you all for your service tonight and the work that you do.
Yeah,
Have a good
thanks to the
holiday
staff
weekend.
also. Good job on the staff too. Thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you all.
Staff were
Thank you.
included in that. So, okay, thank you.
Good night.